the question that each person coming into adolescence has to begin to deal with as the person, the child, the young person, begins to deal with a lot of issues that he or she has to grapple with. So let's start with this notion that at 13 you're an adult. That's not true. It's not Jewish. There's no source in Judaism that says such a thing. It is an American myth connected to this silliness we call bar and bat mitzvah. In Jewish tradition, yes, at 13 you are required to do mitzvot. Yes, at 13 you can be counted to certain communal obligations, but you're not an adult. You're an adult probably when you're 20. But it certainly is the beginning of a road towards adulthood when one has to start thinking about things for oneself. And the Talmud reminds us, and Jewish tradition reminds us, that what I believe is the greatest challenge of adolescence, that the smartest thing you could ever do is listen and take advice and learn from people who are smarter than you. That's not, and the reason I say it's a challenge for an adolescent is trying to exert him or herself, both socially and philosophically and educationally and in terms of their intellect. The smartest thing is to say, there are people who know better than me, I'm going to learn from them. That is not to subsume one's identity and reality to someone else. That's to say, teach me. And then I will learn. And then as I go through life, I'll have a little more experience. I'll be able to make more decisions on my own, although we all need advice. You know, the most important thing a rabbi needs is a rabbi. And that's the only way that you can answer questions and direct people with God's help is because you ask. The reason the rabbi is the smartest guy in the whole shul is because he asks more than anybody else. So here you have a child. And in American law, the child at 18, or it begins a little bit before, but certainly let's call it 18, has legal responsibility or legal ability for oneself. But transitions in life don't happen the way they do in the cartoons, in the Popeye cartoons. So a switch goes off and suddenly night becomes day or day becomes night. It doesn't happen that way in life. In the prayers we say, Golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. God rolls the daylight away from the incoming darkness and rolls the darkness away from the incoming day. That's the reality of life. Slow transitions. And when you find yourself in a transition period, there isn't an easy answer. When do you make the decision? When do parents make the decision? When is it a collaborative decision? And when it comes to health, the reality is, once you're 13, 14, 15, you'll excuse my indelicateness, but nobody, when you go to the bathroom, is cleaning you up. You've got to do that. And you close the door, and here you have yourself. Yes, a child, hopefully if there's a good relationship with parents, has an educational relationship with parents with respect to issues of the body too, or maybe with someone else. But you see what's going on, and you're responsible for what's going on. Suddenly, to some degree, you're responsible to eat properly. Parents can't make you do it. You're responsible to exercise. You're responsible to get enough sleep. You're responsible not to make stupid decisions like using substances. Whether they are legal or not is immaterial. You know, potato chips are just as dangerous as alcohol and drugs. The only thing is the effect is slower. And so you have responsibility, not as much as I used to do it too, not to have breakfast of pizza and potato chips. Have an apple with it. And that way you can be a little healthier. So the transition period that is adolescence, there is no one moment where you can say, okay, now you're responsible, now your parents are responsible, you have to listen to them, you don't have to listen to them. It has to be collaborative, and it has to be with the understanding that it's a secret, we won't tell anybody, but you don't know everything. You think you do, but you don't. And you think that the way you look at life is so clear and unequivocal, and then life kicks you in the head a few times, and you realize, it's a little more complicated than that. And so you need advice. You need direction. Your parents love you and have taken you and gotten you to this point. Lean heavily.